Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Batman Beyond Season 2, Episode 2, Earth Movers. I love Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond is one of those extremely great DC comic cartoons. It was created by Bruce Timm back in the late 90s. This particular episode came out in 1999. I believe the series debuted in 1998. It all started because either DC or the WB told him after Batman, the anime series had ended years prior, that they wanted like a younger version Batman. I believe he was working on the new Batman Adventures and Superman Adventures, and so like I guess they wanted like a younger Bruce Wayne, but he decided to go in a completely different direction. So what he did was he created this show far into the future, about 80 years um, into the future from Batman the animated series, and Bruce Wayne is now an old man, is no longer Batman. And so the new Batman is a younger guy, a teenager, who's 17 years old, named Terry McGinnis. This was awesome. It was just so amazing how everything came together so beautifully. Cause it could have backfired, but it didn't. And fans accepted this new Batman. Cause when it comes to Batman, you only want one Batman, Bruce Wayne. If you can't have him, you want Dick Grayson. And Dick Grayson in this series would have never became Batman. He became Nightwing and left Batman. And it was this show, even though it was supposed to be meant for kids, it was more dark, more edgy. And so Bruce kind of like did the complete opposite of what they wanted and stuff. And it worked out for the better. People still talk about Batman Beyond till this day, but lately Batman Beyond has kind of faded away. The only reference to it is now in the comics, and that's barely shown every now and then. There's never been no live action movie. He's never been brought back in no type of like adaptation of any other kind, no reboot, no nothing. And so like, it's quite a shame. But anyway, Earth Movers. This was in the second season. This is back when they were still doing hand-drawn animation. And so like, it starts with Terry and his girlfriend Dana, and they're with this new character who's been introduced named Jackie. Jackie has red hair, wears like a red outfit and a yellow shirt. This is Jackie's only appearance in the entire series. For some reason, they just never brought her back. I guess because of the trauma that she suffers in this episode, they decided to let her be like a one-time thing. So they're studying, and and Dana's getting on him talking about like, there's no way you memorize the multiplication table, because people just don't do that in the future no more. They just use technology, and he proved her wrong and everything. And so, at some point in time, a man walks into the room. We assume it's Jackie's dad, and he's a really nice guy, telling her like, y'all are being too quiet, y'all are young, y'all need to be louder, stuff like that. When she says thanks Bill, like she thanks him and everything, Dana's kind of weirded out by that because she doesn't understand why she's calling her father Bill by his first name. And so Jackie just replies, that's his name and everything. Well, before Bill showed up, Jackie was telling the others that like, she's been feeling really weird lately. Like she's just been having this strange feeling that somebody is always following her when she's at school, when she's coming home from school. No matter where she's at, she always feels like somebody's just watching her. And then so after Bill leaves, Terry's looking out the window and he's kind of wigging out. He's like somebody's out there. So he sees like a shadowy figure. And so he hops out the window and he goes in full pursuit. And we see this strange movement of what looks like a giant mud man, but it's actually a giant rock, like dirt man. And what's interesting about this thing is that its movement. Every time it runs or moves or whatever, it never lifts its feet off the ground. It always keeps them on the ground. If it's off the ground for like a few moments, it will like shatter. So it has to stay connected to the ground. We don't know why yet, but soon we'll find out. And so he tries to fight the thing off, but he's unable to. And then it gets like smashed into like a car. Well, like he tells the others the next day. Well, no, he tells like Bruce. And so Bruce doesn't believe him. And so he gave him like a sample of the swirl from the dirt man. And Bruce is all like, this is just regular old dirt. So Terry's upset because he thinks Bruce doesn't believe him. But Bruce tells him, like in their line of work, do you think this is going to be the end? So he wants Terry to follow this girl and get some information out of her. So when they're at school, um, like they're talking about like last night, and she tells them straight up that Bill's not her dad. And before she can go into detail, he shows up and he wants to show her something. Well, she brings along like Dana and Terry. It's land, like he's gonna build something there. All of a sudden you hear like shaking and rumbling. The ground is like rumbling, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? And the ground is shaking like faster and everything. The camera is just shaking, and then everybody gets separated from each other. Dana separated from like the group. Terry really gets separated. He gets thrown like halfway across like the field. And so like we see the giant rock man come back up, and he's in hot pursuit of like Jackie. But here comes Batman. I have to say, one great thing about this series, the new bat suit is sleek, is lean, is like a dark black. It has that bright red symbol in the middle. There's no cape. The ears are much longer. The whole face is covered. It's very reminiscent of like the old 90s like bat suits in live action movies. And so Batman's like just doing his best to like fight off this rock thing, but he's having a hard time. He's like punching left and right. He's throwing his batarangs. He's doing everything he can, but he's like literally unable to like stop this thing. And so Dana, she then escaped and ran off, and then Bill, he puts Jackie in the car and they drive off. Terry's still trying, but then I think something happens. He kicks it, or either it gets hit by like a car. No, I think it tried to jump and like grab the car, but since it was off the ground, it shattered and stuff. And right before like all that happened, as like the ground was shaking, like before Batman showed up and stuff, before the ground was shaking, we see these giant canisters fly out of the air and hit the ground, and this green like ooze comes out of it. And Bill tells them like don't touch it and stuff. And so when Terry is like trying to like hightail it back to Jackie's place as Batman, Bruce is talking to him on the intercom and telling him that that green ooze from them chemicals can like mutate a person's DNA and completely scrambles it. So we're getting a little like more context as to what's going on. And so he tells Terry that these chemicals came from some kind of cave-in about like 10 years ago when Terry's about 7. And so Batman heads on over to Jackie's house, and when the camera goes there, Bill is packing as fast as he can. He's trying to hightail it on out of there, and Jackie's all like, "What's going on? Like, why won't you like tell me what's going on?" He just be quiet and pack your bags. We're leaving. And so he sees a shadowy figure in the house, and all you see is the eyes. And he thinks it's a man named Tony, and he is terrified. And the person doesn't even say nothing, just stares. And Jackie's all like, wait, Tony's my dad's name. And so he's on his knees, he's begging for forgiveness, but it's Batman. And so Jackie still wants to know, like what's going on. And it's like this man has a deep, dark secret. And we're about to find out. So Batman already knows what it is. And so he confesses that wait, does he confess there or later? I'm trying to remember. It's either he confesses now what happened, or I think let's just gonna do the confession right now. Anyway, so Back when he was younger, 10 years ago, him and Tony, which is Jackie's dad, he was trying to dispose of his chemicals illegally. See, back in the olden days in real life, people used to dispose of the chemicals in the water, underground, and it would pollute like the soil and the water, so they had to stop. And so he did it the illegal way, because he didn't have much money to get rid of the proper way. And so he had her dad go down in like a little and it's kind of like a cave, um and bury the stuff, but it like there was a collapse, and her dad just like disappeared down underground, and the chemicals like started eating away at his skin, just burning him and stuff. He assumed that Tony had died, but apparently he didn't. And then next thing you know, the ground starts shaking again, and then something happens. I forgot how, but Batman ends up going outside, and so next thing you know, oh no, no, I remember. The ground starts shaking again, and the house starts like sinking. Bill hightails it out of there and gets in his car. Batman goes after him, and he gets like knocked down. And so next thing you know, he's desperately trying to get to the car, but the car sinks on the ground, and then the house sinks on the ground. He is trying his best to get to Jackie, but he can't. It goes completely down underground. And so like, in the next scene, we see Jackie in the house by herself. She has a candle. She's walking through the house, and then she's led like underneath underground and kind of like this chasm type thing. Then we get to see the new Bat vehicle, the Bat Sub. It is but ugly. It looks like a typical sub, but it also looks like a football. If they would have took away like the top part that looks like kind of like a fin in the hatch, it would have looked so much better. But you think, Bruce Timm and them, they created an awesome Batmobile for the future. Why couldn't they do the same thing with the sub? And so Batman's heading, on the water to go to like this underground place so he can try to find them and stuff. And so Jackie's walking on the ground, and then she sees the creepiest thing ever. It's a skeleton, broken up, submerged in like dirt. And she's all like, "You're him, aren't you? Like, you're my father." But Bill told me you died. Once he hears the name Bill, he freaks out and he brings Bill forward. And so like, whatchamacallit, so he's looking for revenge. He wants to keep Jackie there, and he wants to kill Bill. And that's kind of like the movie, Kill Bill. So as he's trying to do all that, here comes Batman, because he's grabbing Jackie to be with him forever and ever. And so Batman is trying to fight him as best as he can, or fight like the dirt people and stuff. And he's just still having the hardest time ever. He's utilizing everything he can. He even takes out his like belt buckle, which has like a saw in it. And so he's just chomping away at them and all kinds of stuff, but it's not gonna help. But then he's able to get the upper hand by shooting the canisters of ooze onto the skeleton dude. And that causes him to freak out and causes them to escape. So they're back in the sub, and they're trying to escape as fast as they can. But there's like a huge like boulder in their way, so he blasts it with explosives. Strangely enough, he only has 2 explosive missiles in his sub, and that's it. Bruce Timm, what are you thinking? So then, as Tony is discovering that they're gonna die because everything's caving in, he decides to let them all go free. And as he's dying and all the chemicals are hitting him in the dirt and everything, he calls out to Jackie one last time, and the chemicals just wash away his body, and all you see like his bones just like drifting away and like the ooze and stuff. And Jackie, she's like really heartbroken by this, and she's all like, my dad. And Batman tells her straight up, that thing back there was not your dad. That thing was like a ghost. And then it ends, and it's just like, this is one of the creepiest episodes in Batman Beyond. So much creepier ever than Batman the Animated Series. And I'm surprised they was able to get away with all that on the cartoon. And not only that, but at some point when Terry was fighting, you see blood drip down his mouth. That's very rare in cartoons. They're not allowed to show blood, but Bruce Timm was able to get away with that twice. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.